Hey guys, Ray from YourRV.com. So we're just about to summer now. I thought this would be a good time to give you some tips on how to keep the rig cool, especially if you're not on air conditioning. These can always help your air conditioner and help it run less and keep up with the heat. But this is the more for when you're boondocking ways I've learned over the years to keep the rig as cool as possible. Number one tip is orientation. So you can point the rig however you want, especially when you're boondocking, but ideally you want to get less windows on the sunny side. So right now I'm not too bad, but I do get the late day sun into my back window. So another tip is to use window coverings or that foil reflectance inside your rig. This is an easy snap shade that I picked up and it's worked really well. And on other windows I'll use that Reflectix. It's like a bubble foil, like, you know, a shiny bubble foil. I'll show it to you in a little while. Actually, there's some on my door right there that I bought. That was from Camco. It fits perfectly there. So I leave that on there. It also blocks out the light that kind of shines onto my computer. Also, you want to utilize your awning. So you can see here I have my awning out, and that's blocking a lot of the sun's heat onto the rig. Especially the fridge. You can see my fridge vents there, so that's keeping that area cool so that the fridge doesn't have to work quite as hard. Also, what you can do is when you're picking a campsite, try to get something with a few shade trees. It can make a big difference. So scouting out a campsite, you can use maybe satellite view and kind of check which campsites might have the best shade for your visit. So let's go inside and I'll show you a few things that I've done inside to help us keep cool. So inside the rig here, you can see how those shades work. We can still see out, but that actually blocks the heat even better than the foil when I put it in the window. Because it's on the outside, it blocks the heat before it even comes into the window. So I really like those, and it really helps keep it cool in here. I didn't have one for Anne's window, and she normally likes it clear, so she'll late in the day, if she needs, she'll put a foil in her window there, and that'll block out any heat while she's working on her computer. I've also recently taken the foil on the advice from some full-time RV friends of mine and lined the inside of the cabinets on the sunny side here, because I had a problem when it's really hot out. The cabinets would get quite warm, and you know, your food in there would spoil quicker. If you had a chocolate bar or something, it would melt. So I'm just trying out that idea. They say it works really well, and I can see it probably will reflect the heat back out of the rig. Because I noticed at night what I used to do is I would actually open all the cabinets, and once it cooled down outside I would let the heat out of all the inner cabinets, and even outside I would open the storage bay and let the wind blow through, because you go to bed and the heat seems to kind of seep in. Another tip is up in the ceiling. I haven't done it to my rig, but I've seen where people will install attic vents. So they'll go up and put a hole in the top of the roof and a little vent, and that there is a space in between the ceiling and the outer ceiling that captures heat over the course of the day as well. So if you can put in some ventilation things, then that'll let that heat out of there, and also works the same for condensation in the winter. And I assume that this Reflectix foil will help out in the winter as well, keep it warmer in here. Next tip is ventilation. So I've installed roof vent fans in the rig, and what I'll do is I'll turn this one on to pull air out of the rig. So it's sucking the warm air out, because warm air rises, so it'll suck out through that vent. And then what I'll do is I'll close down the sunny side of the rig, close all the windows, door, everything on that, and open up some windows on the cooler side of the rig. So basically it's drawing the air in from the cool side and put it out the roof. And if you get a good circulation like that, and you're orientated well with the rig, you can keep pretty well the rig the same temperature it is outside, ambient temperature in the shade. And that's about as good as you can do. And then later at night, what I'll do is I'll keep that one sucking the air out. And before we go to bed, I have another fan here, and I'll set it to draw air in once the temperature outside drops. So I'll be pulling in the cool air into our bedroom here, and then pulling it out on the other vent, so you kind of get a nice circulation going as well. Even we'll sometimes use the bathroom fan and let it go. And I have a few other fans I can use to move air around. I have like this heater has a fan, and I also have a fan nearby where I sit. It's a low-powered DC fan called a Caframo fan. So it just is nice and quiet and moves air, puts it right onto me when I'm working. And the fan in the roof vent is also runs off batteries, and it's very low power. Other fans I have is in the fridge. So right in here is the fridge, and the back of the fridge gets quite warm, especially when it's trying to cool. When the fridge works, it creates heat while it's trying to cool the inside. So I have a set of fans. This one here is controlling one that lives in the roof vent, and it's got a temperature monitor on it. So as soon as it gets hot in there, that fan turns on, and it sucks the air through, draws the air into the fridge vent below, and moves it up behind the fridge and out the roof. So that if you can keep the heat out of the fridge cavity, that also keeps the heat out of the rig. Another really big source of heat in the RV is the shower skylight. There's kind of a dome skylight in here, and it can get quite hot. A lot of heat comes through this, especially in the summer when the sun is really high, just powers through there. So I have in the past put some reflected foil actually inside. I've taken this cover off and sandwiched it in between. You just have to caution if you do that. It could cause the reflecting of the heat, could cause the plastic to crack on the outer cover. You could always go outside and shade that as well, but so far where we summer, I haven't had to deal with that, but that's one further step I can do if it gets really hot in here. And also on these square vents, I have a vent pillow I can stuff up there, just like so. So that really blocks a lot of the heat from getting into the rig, especially if it's really hot and I'm running my air conditioner a lot. I'll go and throw those vent pillows in my vents there to keep the heat from coming in. There actually is, you can get now ones with foil on the outside so they reflect the heat out. So sort of an older one that just has the fuzzy stuff. And they work well in the winter as well for keeping the cool from coming in, although you want to watch blocking your vents if it's very humid out, because you get a lot of condensation in the rig. Oh, and speaking of possible problems, when you use this foil on your windows and you have dual pane windows like we do, it is possible that it creates excessive heat on the window, because normally the sun would shine through the window, but this is actually, it's coming in and then shining back out, so the window temperature can be a lot warmer than normal, and that could lead to possibly causing problems with the dual pane seals. Now, I don't know if that's happened or not. I have had a few of my seals fail, but they don't seem to be any rhyme or reason to where they failed. They haven't failed any different from ones I've used windows I've used the foil into windows I haven't. Personally, I think it's more just age of the rubber in the seal and the vibration of the rig that's been causing them to fail, but I thought I would just make that note for you. Try swapping out a few of your incandescent lights for LED. The lights, if you have incandescent lights, they're about 15 watts each, and almost most of that is in heat, versus the LED ones that can be 8 to 10 times less wattage and still give you good light. If you feel an incandescent light, you can feel the heat radiating out of it, and the LED is basically cool to the touch. So if you have a few lights on a warm evening, you're going to build up heat. If you have LEDs, they'll be a lot cooler for you. One other tip is to turn your electronics off when you're not using them. Just don't let your TV run for no reason, or have your computers on or things plugged in. A lot of those little power supply wall plugs, TVs can put out a lot of heat out the back, and computers, anything that's powered, slowly be putting out a little bit of heat, and it just adds to the heat built up inside your rig. So it's a good idea to turn things off when you're not using them, when you're trying to keep the rig cool. So one thing I've heard of for cooling the RV off grid, where you can't use your air conditioner, if you're in a dry location, is to install what's called a swamp cooler that uses evaporation of water with a fan to cool the air. I've never used it myself, but if anybody has any experience with it, I'd love to hear it in the comments below, because I have heard they can work in an RV. Well, there you go. Hope you found those tips useful. Just a few of the ways that we keep the rig cool when we're out boondocking in the warm sunshine. A couple final tips: cook outside. Use your barbecue. Use an outside smoker or an outside, even a solar oven, so you don't have to heat up the rig cooking stuff. And some people will also use a tarp or a blind. You can buy blinds that come down over your awning, gives you a nice cool place to sit outside, or even tarp on the roof can, with a little bit of space in between, can help shade if you're in extremely hot weather. My best advice though is to move to cooler climates. Till next time, Ray from LoveYourRV.com. Cheers everyone.